Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, the place you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today we dive back into Power Rangers Universe 113. A universe that is split up into a yin and yang sort of symbol, one half being at war between magic and technology, and the other half just normal mundane society. In the mundane society half of the universe, its version of Earth has to deal with Lucicon, a being of big proportions and different forms, varying between all different Ranger villains, and who has a big thirst for collecting Ranger abilities. The apprentices, children, and fans of the Power Rangers have teamed up to form Power Rangers Future Foundation. Now, the last time that we saw the Future Foundation team, we saw them questioning the big amount of power that's been picking up all over town, aka the Dragon Zord. Maybe in this chapter we'll find out exactly what's been going on. So that being said, let's dive in with Power Rangers Future Foundation, Chapter 24, Master Morphing Savior.
Welcome to Universe 113. A place where an old evil has continued its quest for ultimate power, starting by kidnapping previous Rangers and stealing their powers. But not all is lost, as a new generation of Rangers is born, bringing new life to the legendary powers that came before them. They are the new heroes of Earth. They are Power Rangers Future Foundation.
Dante and Logan stood there on the rooftop of the dojo. "You have one more chance to back out of this, Dante." Logan grinned. "As if." Dante smiled back. Logan then summoned his crescent blade and revealed his Inaku arm. Dante held up his wrist and revealed his lunar morpher, and pulled off the strap. He flipped it open, pressed the center button, then held the phone up to his ear whilst he held out his other hand. "Wild access!" Dante called out, and he morphed into the Silver Wild Force Ranger. Logan swung his blade at the Silver Ranger. The Silver Ranger caught the blade with his hand, then he jumped up and kicked Logan in the chest. Logan then staggered back. He then swung his blade left, then right. He managed to catch the Silver Ranger across the shoulder. Then Logan jumped up and over the Ranger, landing behind him. He then slashed the Ranger's back. The Silver Ranger jumped forward into a roll. He spun around and he summoned his Lunar Q and put it in blast mode and shot at Logan. Logan raised up his Zenaku armored arm to defend his face. He then sent several crescent waves at the Silver Wolf Ranger, who rolled to one side, dodging the attack. The Silver Ranger went to go return the attack when suddenly his communicator started beeping. The Ranger stood and demorphed. Dante stood there with a grin on his face. He then answered his communicator. "What's up, CJ?" Dante asked. "Sorry boys, interrupt the training session, but we have an org running around the quarry," CJ replied. "Send me the coordinates, I'll be there now. Oh, and alert the team," Dante told CJ. "I would say aye captain, but they're already there," CJ responded. Dante then turned to Logan, who returned his crescent blade. "Thanks for sparring with me," Dante grinned. "No problem. It's nice to flex those muscles every now and then," Logan replied. "Are you coming?" Dante asked. "Being a Power Ranger is your thing? When you need Zords, I'll be there," Logan replied. Suit yourself," Dante grinned. Then he hit his watch and teleported away. Dante teleported into the quarry and found his team fighting a horde of putrids. "Took your time, man," Luca called out as he jumped up and swung his foot into a putrid's head. "Sorry, I was training with Logan," Dante grinned. Then he rolled forward and caught a putrid and kicked it in the stomach, and then he uppercutted another putrid. "Let's get this sorted out quick. I've got homework to do," Amy barked. "I must not leave the animarium for too long," Leo called out. Everyone quickly grouped up and lined in a row. "Ready, guys?" Dante called out. "Ready," everyone said. "It's morphing time. Mastodon," Dante called out as he held out his power morpher. Time force," Luca called out as he pressed his chrono morpher. "Dino Thunder, power up," Chloe called out as he pressed his dino morpher. "Wild access," Leo called out as he pressed the center button of the ground morpher and held it up to his ear. "Let's rock it, yo," Amy called out as she pressed the 3-button combination on her Astro morpher. In an explosion of black, blue, yellow, red, and pink, the Future Foundation team stood there ready. They ran into the group of putreds. The red Wild Force Ranger jumped up and split-kicked 2 putreds in the face. Then, as he landed, he scratched another putrid down the chest with his claws. He rolled forward and wrapped his legs around a putrid's legs, and with a quick, swift motion, he tripped the putrid over. The blue Time Force Ranger ran in with one of his chrono sabers. He slashed down 2 putreds in one quick double slash. He then swung his leg up under a putrid and jabbed his saber forward, stabbing the putrid, sending it flying back. The Black Ranger double punched a putrid in the chest, then he roundhouse kicked it. He then backflipped and caught 2 putrid weapons in mid-swing. He then kicked one in the side and then the other in the leg. He then brought his foot back up and across hard, kicking the first one in the head. He then steadied himself before flinging his other foot out and kicking the second one in the chest. The Yellow Dino Thunder Ranger threw multiple jabs as fast as she could. Then she pulled out her fist and swung it as hard as she could, hitting a putrid in the head. She then pulled its head down, lifting her knee up at the same time, kneeing it in the face. She then kicked one in the chest. Then, with 2 quick steps, she covered the distance, made it by it stumbling backwards. Then she swung both her fists at its head, knocking it clean off onto the floor. The Pink in Space Ranger pulled out her Starlight Stunner and then started blasting several of the putreds. She jumped up and rained down the pink energy blast on the group. As she landed, she kicked on the one in the face and caught an attack, then placed her stunner against the putrid's chest. Pulling the trigger, the blast sent the putrid flying back into a morgue putrids. The Rangers made quick work of the putrids. "Hell yeah, baby!" the Pink Ranger called out in glee. "Don't celebrate too early. CJ said there's an orc, remember?" the Yellow Ranger said. Then suddenly, they could hear laughing. They all turned around to see a skinny, 8-foot-tall mummy with long arms and really over-large hands. Its head was that of a pharaoh's headpiece, and its eyes burnt a bright yellow. "Hello, Rangers," the mummy orc called out. "Huh, let's beat this mummy," the Blue Ranger growled. Then the Blue Ranger ran at the mummy orc and swung his chrono saber down. But the mummy orc swung his big fist and swatted the Blue Ranger like he was a fly. And then he extended its arms. The mummy wraps extended off of its wrist and wrapped up the Blue Ranger, and the Ranger was lifted into the air, and he stayed up there afloat. "Whoa, hang on, get me down, I can't move," the Blue Ranger called out. "Silence you!" the mummy orc snarled and then tightened its grip on the Blue Ranger as he screamed out in pain. "We better get him down, fast." "Yes, but how?" the Red Ranger asked. "Girls, keep him busy. Me and Leo are gonna do some cutting around, okay?" the Black Ranger ordered. Both the female Rangers ran at the mummy orc, and the Black Ranger pulled out his power axe, and the Red Ranger pulled out his crystal saber. They both ran around the orc. Both the female Rangers threw a punch at the mummy. The orc's eyes flashed yellow, and 2 small beams hit the Yellow and Pink Ranger, striking them down. Then more mummy wraps flew off at the 2 Rangers from the Orc's chest and wrapped up the Yellow and Pink Ranger. Then the Orc spun around and swatted the Black and Red Rangers with the Yellow and Pink Rangers. "Ow, sorry," the Yellow Ranger called out as she was elevated into the air with the Pink Ranger joining the Blue Ranger. The mummy Orc then wrapped up the Rangers even more and squeezed them tightly, causing them more pain. The Black Ranger and Red Ranger stood up slowly. "Dante, how do we deal with this orc?" the Red Ranger asked his leader. "Hang on, let's go wild tag team maneuver," the Black Ranger ordered. Then he demorphed. Dante held out his power morpher, and in his hand it started to glow silver, and then it shifted from the power morpher to the Wild Force silver ground morpher strapped to his wrist. He pulled it off, flipped it open, pressed the center button, and held it to his ear. "Wild access!" Dante called out, and he was morphed into the silver Wild Force Ranger. Both the Wild Force Rangers summoned their weapons and ran at the mummy orc. "You Rangers never learn," the mummy orc barked. The mummy orc's eyes flashed yellow once again, and 2 blasts hit the 2 Wild Force Rangers. Then the mummy orc whipped out some mummy wraps, lashing the 2 Ranger. Sparks came off of their suits as they dropped to the ground. "Can you reach your blaster?" the Pink Ranger called out. "No, I can't breathe," the Yellow Ranger growled. The mummy orc advanced on the Silver and Red Ranger when suddenly a white figure landed between the Rangers and the orc. The figure stood slowly. The Silver Ranger recognized him instantly. "It's the White Mighty Morphin Ranger," the Silver Ranger gasped. The White Ranger turned around to face the mummy orc. He pulled out Saba, the talking tiger saber, from his belt and bolted at the orc with incredible speed, slashing the orc several times. Then he threw Saba up into the air. It floated up into the air by itself and went up, floating up to the Rangers. 2 little lasers came from its eyes and cut the wraps, releasing the Rangers, the 3 of them landing on the floor with a thud. Then Saba flew back to the White Ranger's hand as he punched the orc twice before roundhouse kicking it. He then caught Saba and then jabbed it in the orc. The orc swung its huge fist and knocked the White Ranger back. He flew backwards but landed on his feet safe. He then pulled out his power morpher.
Zeo Ranger 5, red!
The White Ranger called out. The morpher then started glowing, and the White Ranger power coin changed to the Zeo Red Ranger power coin, and suddenly in a flash of red he was morphed into the Red Zeo Ranger. Wait, what the hell? The Blue Ranger barked as they all regrouped. It's a Master Morpher, the Silver Ranger muttered. Then the Red Zeo Ranger ran at the orc. He jumped up and rapidly kicked the orc with a flurry of powerful stomping-like kicks. Then he landed and summoned his saber and slashed the orc twice. The Ranger turned around and the orc fell back and exploded. The Red Ranger walked past the Future Foundation team like they were nothing to him. Tommy? The Pink Ranger called out in question. Everyone looked at the Pink Ranger. What? The only person to be both the White Mighty Morphin Ranger and the Red Zeo Ranger was Tommy Oliver. He also had a Master Morpher. So far, that's the only thing it could be, the Pink Ranger explained. Suddenly, the orc appeared, but this time in giant size. Then the Rangers saw the 2 Luticon mutants generals disappearing in a portal. Logan appeared next to the Rangers. Who's the new kid? Logan asked. Dunno yet, the Silver Ranger replied. Logan pulled out his flute knife when suddenly the Red Zeo Ranger stood and looked at the monster. He pulled out his power morpher once again.
Dragon Zord!
The Red Ranger called out, and the Zeo coin turned into the Dragon Zord power coin, and in a flash of green he morphed into the Green Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. The Green Ranger pulled out his dragon dagger and played the flute, and the Dragon Zord appeared. An oversized lizard? The mummy orc yelled and tried to wrap up the Dragon Zord, but with a swift spin and a swing of its tail, it broke free. Then it pointed its fingertips and fired small missiles which struck the mummy head-on. Then it swung its drill-tipped tail and hit the mummy in the chest. The orc stumbled back. The Dragon Zord then fired more missiles, and the orc then fell back and blew up once again. The Green Ranger simply walked away. The Futuron Rangers demorphed, and Dante tried to catch up to the Green Ranger. Hey man, who are you? Dante asked as he grabbed the Ranger's shoulder. Then the Ranger turned around and punched Dante in the stomach, sending him flying off his feet and landing on his back. The other teammates all scurried up to him and pulled him to his feet. Dude, what gives? Luca asked as they all turned to the Green Ranger, but he was gone. Well, at least we found out where the Dragon Zord came from, Amy muttered. Yeah, but that was not Tommy, Dante sighed. The Future Foundation team all stood there rather confused on who the wielder of the new Master Morpher was, and why did he save them, and why did he not talk to them. And there we have it, guys. Power Rangers Future Foundation, Chapter 24. I hope you guys enjoy this chapter. Now, I will say this. The voice actor for the mysterious person behind the Master Morpher, who we've already met before in a couple chapters beforehand, is the voice actor of Xander, aka Cosplay's son, 637. He's also got a podcast called Neat Talk, so you should really go check it out. It's actually a decent podcast, and he's starting strong. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. Make sure you go check out the rest of the channel and the 3 Ranger Bros. Of course, I've got to mention them. 3 Ranger Bros is myself, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, with his podcast Nerds Through Comics, and Cosplay Dude 637 with his podcasts of Storytime Cosplay Dude 637, Power Rangers Universe 19, and Sailor Moon E, and his YouTube channel, Nostalgia Time. He wrote some great stories on all of them, all different, all awesome, so you go check them out. And of course, we have the brother channel, Tiger Tales The Lost Stories, which I do a similar thing to this, but a big spin on the world of fanfiction, more unique stories, and everything's in a first-person perspective. That being said, we're in association to Zero the Hero, a podcast where every Friday we're given a treat of the Boston School of Podcasting, Buddy and Jim, where they talk about all things from Power Rangers to Gundam to anime to aliens abducting us and everything wacky in between. Make sure you go check out everyone I just mentioned, subscribe to this channel, and that being said, I shall see you guys really soon.